I have been given permission, potentially questionably, to return if you don't mind, to ask a couple more questions.
Sure.
Okay. The first one I'd like to ask is how do you get into a headspace for any character generally, and what did you do specifically to get into the headspace of Dave?
Yeah, I'm trying to change it more lately. I find that I kind of get bored easily, so I do have to change my approach sometimes. Generally, I always start with a text, getting off book. Obviously, wasn't super hard for Dave. I'm going more in the direction of doing research because I find that that kind of piques my curiosity a bit more. So yeah, like I said with Dave, it was a lot of just going to the music and what was sort of happening in the world at the time. Um, yeah, other roles I've done different things. There's sort of sometimes using animals. Like if I feel like a character moves a certain way, I might research an animal and go that direction. Um, Sometimes it's like articles. If it's I'm researching for a role of a character who's sort of a former neo-Nazi who defects, and this is a real cultural thing that there's these groups of people who are sort of defecting from neo-Nazism, and they're finding it's really they struggle to reintegrate, and so there's a lot of articles about stuff like that. I find that anything that kind of gets me more emotionally connected to the work, I find is all good, and sometimes it takes a bit of creative imagination that way just to sort of because there's infinite content out there, so it's just a matter of like where you're kind of choosing to put your attention. But I'd say it's varies a little bit with each role.
Yeah. The Neonazi one, would that be Man in the High Castle by any chance that you're talking about there?
Oh, that was a different character. That's yeah,
Oh,
I mean
okay.
that guy's a full-on Nazi
Okay.
character. Yeah,
I was
that's
wondering if you'd sort of researched that because obviously that is post World War II, but still with a very interesting kind of approach to it and approach to the whole context.
yeah,
Um,
I mean it's
Sorry,
obviously.
I didn't realize you had another role that was similar to that.
Yeah. Well, it's like that character in Man in the High Castle is not even a neo-Nazi. That's sort of like a full-on
Mm,
Nazi, and it's an American Nazi. So I think for that character, it was more trying to buy into the world that it was more sort of military. There's sort of a stiffness to the character. I think it was really related to Agent Smith too. I think that a lot of characters in that world are sort of afraid of Smith, and so I tried to
mm.
play with that relationship of his sort of point of view of Smith, of maybe underneath it too that Agent Campbell maybe didn't really even like Smith in a way, but he kind of had to put up with him. I play with things like
I
that.
think everyone would be scared of Smith, to be honest.
Well, exactly. So, and you see it in that scene where it's sort of ironic, but that scene where Campbell, sorry, spoiler alert here for those who haven't seen it, but Campbell, when he has to tell Smith that he killed Smith in the other world, right? And it's this
Mm,
weird moment where he's nervous about telling him that he's killed him, but he's like, okay, I got to do this, so whatever happens,
mm.
happens. So,
Yeah. So
um,
see, a friend of mine is she considers herself to be one of the biggest Man in the High Castle fans ever. She's a huge fan, and that's one of her favorite scenes in the show.
oh,
Um,
really?
is that yeah, she's a huge fan of that scene and the way that you played that. She didn't actually. I say not that she didn't know that you were the same person who was David Umbrella Academy exactly, because we were having a conversation a while back about various well shot scenes, and it was a fun connection. I was going, "That's the same guy. That's the same one." Yes.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, that's sweet. Yeah, I really, Rachel was the director on that one. She's really sweet. Really, really great director to work with. So yeah, and it's just a general tense scene, and it is all sort of the audience's point of view of Smith, and also obviously Agent Campbell's point of view of Smith. I think that I sort of played it like he's like I could get killed for giving this
Mm.
news, and there is sort of a quality to Campbell in that scene where he's like, okay, I might get executed here, but here goes nothing. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was funny that there was some sort of Freudian slips almost in that scene a little bit too of how he kind of talked about him and stuff, which
Mm,
was
it
funny.
was very clever. Yeah, I enjoyed that.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, so that was a slight tangent away from Umbrella Academy. So I apologize to
Oh, no
everyone
worries.
else in this chat. But another question I have be what aspect of Dave do you personally connect to the most?
I mean, the best part of me, I think, is maybe the non-judgmental quality of Dave, because you like we say when we first see Dave and Klaus, it's like this guy shows up out of nowhere, and Klaus is still eccentric, even if he's more sort of subdued in Vietnam. He's not necessarily a person that strangers might easily gravitate to, but I think that there's a quality to Dave that's again very non-judgmental and kind of accepting, and yeah, I think that that's maybe hopefully a quality I see in myself too. But I definitely connect with that with Dave.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I don't know you personally, but from the way that you present yourself online, I would definitely say that does come through. Um, I would say you come across as very non-judgmental and very kind and very nice to everyone.
Yeah, well, I just think it's like the way I try to use social media is like it's really what we need so desperately right now. I think that there's so much fear that people need to prop themselves up on the defensive all the time, and I just like we just really need to really come at each other from a place of like let's try to take care of each other and give each other the benefit of the doubt. That's really I think the way forward.
Yeah, that's a very good philosophy.
Hmm.
And I'd actually have one final question. So I am actually currently doing a master's degree in English literature, so the whole book side of things is very interesting to me. And we know Dave's favorite book is Dune, but what are your favorite books?
Oh, interesting. Favorite book of mine. I've got a few. I would say The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway would be one. I don't know if you've read it, but I just love the kind of pedestrian quality with the way that Hemingway writes, and it's very topical. I think with our generation right now, where people are kind of wandering without a cause, and there's a sadness underneath it, even though it would never sort of be overtly spoken to. Um, I really like a book called Cannery Row by John Steinbeck. I just really sort of enjoy that sort of turn into the 20th century like West Coast kind of grimy lower class. I feel like I've got this sort of affinity to that world, and I love the way that Steinbeck kind of turns his settings into a character. Um, and I would say Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy. That's another one that I'm from Alberta, so there's really I kind of get sort of nostalgic about any descriptions of the land, and I find that Cormac McCarthy does a really good job of sort of weaving in these huge themes with landscapes. So I'd say those are three big books that I love.
That's interesting, and it sounds like setting being a hugely important thing to you in terms of literature, because those all seem to have a very strong theme of the setting being crucial to the story.
Yeah, it's interesting too because even in The Sun Also Rises, it's like these expats in Paris, and yeah,
Mm.
you're right. I don't know. There's something about a feeling of it lends to that sort of immersive quality of a book, you know. So any book I think that has a really kind of distinct, vivid setting, I really connect with in terms of fiction.
That's really interesting. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
And thank you for taking so much time out of your day to answer all of our questions. It's incredibly kind of you.
It's crazy. I looked up. I'm like, oh my god, it's 10 o'clock now suddenly too. But no, I've really enjoyed it. This kind of recharges me in these crazy COVID times as well. So I appreciate it.
I'm in the UK, so it's 3 a.m. here.
Oh
But
jeez, way past your bedtime.
I'm nocturnal anyway. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm sort of the same way. I'm a bit of a night owl as well.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Hi. Quick question. What's your favorite superhero?
Oh, my favorite superhero. I haven't thought about this question in a while. I wonder if it's changed. I think it used to be. You know, funny enough, actually, this is sort of off the beaten trail. When I was younger, I think it was Nightcrawler. Funny enough, and I don't know why. Maybe because he's like not. I don't know. It was Nightcrawler when I was younger. I'll stick with that answer because it's strange.
Yeah, no offense, that is kind of weird.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like, but I remember because my dad used to get me. There was these Excalibur comics, so I had a couple specifically where Nightcrawler was like a more central character, in these ones with Phoenix specifically. And I don't know, I just remember like that was my real sort of my introduction two comics in a way, and Nightcrawler was one of the more central characters in those issues. So, but yeah, I definitely like Spider-Man, obviously, and Batman. I connect with a lot too, and yeah.
You connect with Batman?
Well, not necessarily like in terms of just I like what I like about the character like Bruce Wayne and Batman of this the sort of quiet solitude of that character. Um, There's sort of a romantic quality. It's sort of like the Western character too, of the quiet leading man who sort of goes in and doesn't say a lot. There's something about Batman that I admire. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, he's cool. Also, just one more question. Why does your voice sound so different as Dave?
I don't know. Maybe I was nervous on set. Um, I don't know. Yeah. Maybe it's I'm all hunched forward here as well. Could change the vocal quality of my voice. I don't know.
Like, right now you sound deeper, but when you're Dave, it sounds like soft. No judgment, just an
No, yeah.
observation.
It could have just been on the day, like what was sort of working through me in the moment. I don't think I made any specific choice with Dave, but it could have been maybe it was partly nerves on the day, but it could also just be the connection with Robert in the moment. And for me too, it's like film. I'm just learning. You don't. I'm sort of chatting now, trying to project a bit more. But on the day with film, you really don't have to project as much. It can be a bit softer, and you can trust that the audio will pick that up. So maybe I'm
Okay.
overcompensating right now. Just kidding.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Um, Sorry, can you hear me?
Of course. Hi.
Ah, hi. Well, first, sorry if my English is not the best. I'm from Mexico.
No, you're good.
And
Hello.
well, I'm really excited hearing you answer all those questions. Has been really interesting. And my first question is, if they knew Klaus' family, who do you think they would have a brother-in-law relationship with? Or how do you think he will fit into that
Oh,
crazy family?
that's funny. Yeah, I've thought about that too. I definitely think David probably connect with Vanya for sure. There is sort of a quiet softness to Vanya as well, um, that I think that they would really connect on. Um, yeah, it's interesting. There is a lot of strong personalities as well, so it's hard to say. Luther, obviously, because I think that they both have a really good moral compass to them. So I think that probably Luther as well. I'm trying to think who he wouldn't like. I don't know. Dave is kind of easy company with everyone, and he give people the benefit of the doubt. It might be tricky. Like I'm wondering if number five he might be sort of too sincere for number five's tastes. I bet Ben would
Yeah.
probably appreciate Dave as well for sort of offloading Klaus on him in a way. So, yeah, I think there's probably some connections with Allison as well too. So, yeah.
And another question, if you could travel to any time, which would you choose?
Oh, that's a very good question. I think there is something about like maybe the 20s or 30s, the kind of roaring 20s, that very I don't know, F. Scott Fitzgerald sort of Great Gatsby era. There's
Yeah.
something really cool about that sort of aesthetic. Same with the '60s as well, sort of Roy Orbison era. I really connect with the kind of timelessness of that period as well. So maybe one of those two. And the music was so great out of
How
the
much,
'60s and '70s as well. So it'd be great.